So without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker, which is Nicky Brennan. We are delighted to welcome her today as the first ever Victims Commissioner for the West Midlands. Nicky is a councillor for Birmingham City Council representing the Sparkhill ward. She has been the council's domestic abuse advisor since she was first elected in 2018. Nicky has spent most of her career in the charity sector supporting women fleeing domestic abuse in the criminal justice system or at risk of homelessness. She also heads up the award-winning charity Baby Aid Birmingham, which supports struggling families across Birmingham. So over to you, Nicky.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so pleased to be here today at the launch of Sikh Women's Aid report. It is lovely to see so many people here today to discuss the prevalence and impact of domestic and sexual abuse in the Sikh and Punjabi community. Being the first Victims Commissioner for the West Midlands is not a responsibility that I take lightly, and I am committed to working with partners to amplify the voice of people who have been impacted by crime. Whilst not all victims choose to report their crimes that they were subjected to, or even want to seek a criminal justice outcome, justice, which can mean different meanings for different victims, is an important element in healing from their trauma. Domestic abuse is a continuing and pressing demand. It accounts for 21% of West Midlands Police's work. We should not underestimate the significance of that statistic, and conversations such as the ones that we will engage in today are so important to understanding the prevalence and impact of domestic abuse. One of the key priorities for the West Midlands Police and Crime Commissioner is tackling violence against women and girls, which includes honour-based abuse. These crimes are driven by a desire to control behaviour within families and communities, to defend perceived notions of honour, and to prevent shame being brought upon a family or community. These crimes are often committed with the approval and collusion from family and community members. Honour-based abuse affects people of all ages, but often begins early in the family home. This can lead to a deeply embedded form of coercive control, built on expectations about behaviour that are made clear at a young age. The sense of honour is often weighed on women and girls. Calling out honour-based abuse is a key feature Calling out honour-based abuse is a key feature within the Police and Crime Plan. It is only by actively challenging harming belief systems and practices that act as the root of causes of all harm of abuse within the Sikh and wider Punjabi community. Women and girls in our communities are at a disproportionate risk of a wide range of crimes, and I am not afraid of calling out this disproportionality and gender-based criminality. Cycles of domestic abuse and violence need to be broken, and it is essential that we call for an improvement in the effectiveness and efficiency of the support for victims, and this support should be available regardless of whether the crime was reported or how much time has passed. Sikh Women's Aid report is a bold and courageous piece of work, and it highlights particularly the Sikh Punjabi community that women can experience control over such a long period of time that domestic abuse starts to become normalised. Women often then don't report or discuss this abuse. As not to bring shame upon their families, they do not speak up. Just to be clear, this is not the shame of women and girls. This is the shame of perpetrators and the systems that uphold their abuse. It is crucial that accountability sits firmly with those perpetrating this abuse, and victims and children who are now recognised as victims in their own right in the Domestic Abuse Act are adequately safeguarded and supported to cope and recover with expectations to keep themselves safe and without any other such victim blaming responses. We have to stop asking, why doesn't she leave? And we need to start asking, why doesn't he stop? We must stop telling our daughters that when a boy is mean or horrible to her, that it is out of love, as we are teaching them that abuse is acceptable and inevitable. Domestic abuse is not inevitable, and we must challenge the gendered social norms based on power and control which underpin abusive behaviour. The criminal justice system needs to be rebuilt with the confidence of women and girls that their reports will be taken seriously by the system, and that domestic and sexual abuse is not normal and will not be discarded as so. I am determined to work with our criminal justice partners to ensure it significantly improves its responses to victims, and I am also committed to working in partnership to prevent and eradicate these harmful practices. I am certain that West Midlands Police cannot tackle these practices in isolation, and we require a broad coalition of partners to protect and safeguard victims, alongside raising awareness and bringing perpetrators to justice, including in faith settings. This work is not easy, and somebody has had to take the first steps, so I thank Sikh Women's Aid for undertaking this report. So that we can respond to the Sikh community, we must understand the impact and barriers faced by the Sikh and Punjabi victims of crime, and I am keen to support the work of Sikh Women's Aid to develop our understanding of the prevalence and impact of domestic and sexual abuse across all settings, with a view to understand how we can better respond to them, bring perpetrators to justice, and to help victims cope and recover. Perpetrators thrive in silence, and silence only seeks to protect them. We cannot underestimate how difficult it can be for a victim to speak up, and the strength that that takes. And that is why events like today are so important. We have some really wonderful and inspiring speakers today, and I hope everyone finds today informative, useful and thought-provoking, and we can continue to work together to combat honour-based abuse. Thank you.